process here. These are two of our artists. Those of you who have been coming to First Stage for years will know these folks. Frank Britton and Justin Weeks are two of my favorite actors. Frank, you've seen in, I'm going to try to get them all, Frank. So Floyd Collins, When the Rain Stops Falling, and won the Helen Hayes Award for Jesus Hopped the A Train, and then Farnsworth, I think, was the latest show, or maybe, I can't remember which came first, Farnsworth or Jesus Hopped the A Train, but you've seen Frank many times on First Stage. And then of course you've seen Justin Weeks in Lobby Hero, which was really a turning point for me and the company in certain ways. The Wall Street Journal came to that show and called it the best regional production in the country that year. And Justin was such a major part of that and has been in the First Stage family ever since. So we're so grateful to Frank and Justin to being here today. I'm going to talk as little as possible so I can turn it over to them. What they're going to do is just share a little piece of what they're working on, just to give you a taste of what's being built. The goal, of course, is in another 6 months or so for these pieces to really start taking shape and be full pieces, but they're not there yet. They're in the beginning of process. So this is a look into the process. These pieces are meant to be done on stage, not over Zoom, but they'll work for what we need today. And then at the end of this, my partner in crime, Deirdre Starnes, our Associate Artistic Director, and I will lead a little conversation and discussion with Frank and Justin about the process of building their work. So with the last thing I need to say is that Ariel is here for you. She is our Zoom host. So if you have any issues along the way, you can chat directly to Ariel. She'll try to help you. She's going to try to keep you on mute, but if you could try to check and make sure that you're on mute, we'd be grateful for that. It's hard enough to share your work for the first time without also hearing, you know, the dog in the background. So we'll try to keep you on mute. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my friend, Frank Britton. Frank?
Thank you, Alex. Hi, everyone. This piece, it's called At the Corner Where Love Lives. It's shaping up to be a very non-linear piece. So I'm going to start at where I am in the beginning, and then I'm going to seriously jump because I realized I had written a lot and it timed out to be quite long. So I'm going to let you guys know when I jump, and I'm going to keep forward towards where I'm going to end, where I've ended in the draft. So here we go. At the corner where love lives. Lights down, I enter in the black, sits in the chair, which is optional, then lights out. I just wanted to communicate with people. That's always been my response to the question asked of me of why I became an actor, of what inspired me to pursue this craft. I've been doing this professionally for nearly 20 years, and I still approach it all with a sense of curiosity and a sense of wonder. As time passed through the years, I realized there was another reason for my being in this business and becoming a lifelong practitioner of this craft. I didn't want to be alone. I wanted a sense of, a feeling of community. I never thought I'd be an actor. I'm a regular cat, a native Washingtonian who spent his formative years in both DC and Maryland, and someone who thinks of himself as someone of no real importance. In middle school and high school, I was very social, popular even, especially in high school. I was voted friendliest senior male in the senior superlatives announcement, and it was forever documented in our yearbook. I had community, I had a community. But I always felt like an extremely solitary person. Even though I discovered that I was an ambivert early on, I could adapt to different environments. So why do we need each other? Why do we need community? Even if many of us don't feel like we do, it comes down to basic human need. In the craft of acting, there is something called the super objective for the character or role you're playing. What does your character want? How does he, she, or they go about getting what they want? What do they need in that moment and for the rest of their lives? The super objectives can be different, but underneath it all, for me, is love. That is what each of us look for, or don't actively look for. What each of us wants, what each of us needs. Love is that tie. Love is that hook that connects us in some way. May 27th, 2014 took me to an entirely new place with that, and it wasn't the craft, it was an event in my own personal life. May 26th, 2014 was just like any other day for me as a thankful and grateful working actor. It was opening night of a play that had changed my life and the trajectory of my career, Stephen Atlee Gurgis's The Last Days of Judas Iscariot. The play had already been in my life for about 6 years at that time. I appeared in the DC premiere of it, then in a remount of it 6 months later. Half of the original DC premiere cast returned with new cast family. I even conversed with Stephen himself earlier that day, expressing my excitement. I was so jazzed up for this, as all of us were. Opening nights went very well. And then I was one of the remaining few of the cast party. I leave to make my way around the corner while checking a text from the 7-Eleven, and I was making my way to a cab bay. This was before Uber and Lyft became commonplace, so I was making my way towards these cabs. This is downtown Silver Spring, and it was pretty much deserted at that time of night, save for the cab drivers congregating and chatting. As I approach the cab bay in the opposite direction, moving towards me are 4 young men. Even being as hypervigilant as I usually am, I made nothing of it, but I was of a mind to immediately shove my phone into my duffel bag. As we passed each other, life had completely changed for me when I was suddenly struck with a sensation as if I were slammed into a body of water, then drowning, only that it was a tight fist, maybe brass knuckles, smashing in parts of the right side of my face and my head hitting the concrete. Most of my valuables were snatched, save for the lone iPod that had somehow flown out of my duffel bag as they were pulling it from my person. As I was attempting to rise from the ground, completely dazed, I felt a hand move towards my neck to yank a necklace, which held a silver ankh that belonged to my great-grandmother, which I'd worn for over 15 years. That was the last thing they robbed me of, or so I thought. I wasn't unconscious. I sprang to my feet almost immediately after they took off into the night. I always knew that I was a physically tough individual, but the damage was far more serious than I initially surmised. A hemorrhaged right eye, orbital bone fracture, right cheekbone completely shattered, and a massive head contusion. My skull is pretty thick. I found out because of an accident I suffered in tech 11 years before. Doctor told me I had a pretty thick skull. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that to this day, whether that's a good thing or not. I knew my face was partially broken when I touched it and bones slid upward. A small pool of blood began to form where I was standing, then another as I moved in a different direction. Yeah, it was bad. Imagine your life changing like that in less than 30 seconds. Imagine coming out of your physical being and your physical surroundings in a few nanoseconds. And through all of this, up to this moment, all I could think about was the show I just opened. The first thing I said once the cab drivers gathered around and watched me, the first thing I thought was, how am I going to finish my show? See, that's how much of a singular, ultra-focused mind I have when it comes to my work. I wasn't even thinking about anything else, not even the fact that my possessions were jacked from my person, or that I was nearly bleeding to death and disfigured on the downtown Silver Spring street. I was only concerned about whether I'd be well enough to return to work. Once I reached the hospital, I managed to reach 2 of my closest friends before the morphine took effect, and I awakened in an entirely new and singular hospital room. A group of good friends became a small team of my caregivers while I was hospitalized and for a time thereafter. This all happened within a few hours. A few of them even stayed overnight with me. Team Chai Latte, they named themselves. Chai Latte is a nickname for me that began years ago in a play rehearsal, and it stuck. There was a waiting room adjacent to mine, and it stayed packed with visitors from what I was told. My sister arrived with the demeanor of someone who was ready to go after those responsible. I was then surprised to see my own father, whom I hadn't seen in 12 years at that time. He arrived with a copy of the Washington Post Express rolled up in his hand, with the attack already having made the morning edition with a 4-year-old photo of me in it. His visit was brief. I didn't know how to handle the moment, and I don't know if he knew either. Later, a detective arrived, information was exchanged, the most pertinent of which was that I disclosed that I had the packaging information to the iPad that was stolen from me. And with that, they were able to track down one of the assailants. Me and the events of May 27th stayed in the news cycle on and off for over a year and a half. But this outpouring of love, it was overwhelming in the most positive and beautiful way. And at the same time, for someone who considers himself to be unassuming and of the background, I was wondering at times, what did I do to deserve all this support, all this love? I give love as much as I humanly and possibly can, and that's what I love to do. I believe that to love is part of my life's purpose, and I know that I am not the only one with that belief about themselves. Not to get esoteric nor cliche about it, but I firmly believe that. The question was answered for me in that moment, but deep down, I know that that question will remain with me for the remainder of my life, and I think that may be a good thing. This is not to say that I didn't receive love from my family. I most absolutely did, but this was another love I never would have expected and was almost unprepared for. That love was different, and I welcomed it wholeheartedly. I was surrounded by angels, my community, family, and the community I didn't know personally, all angels. I was beyond any discernible humanly level of gratitude. If I never felt truly fortunate before, I knew that. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Wow. I miss that moment of applause that we that ritual that we've grown used to. I think it's one of the things I miss most. But Frank, please know and see that we are all with you. Feel free, as some of you already are, to send some love toward just Frank in the chat.
Thank you all. Thank you,
Frank. We'll check back in with Frank and talk a little bit more about this in a moment, but I want to turn it over to my friend Justin Weeks to share his piece with us. Justin.
Hey everybody. I made a video explaining my piece, and I'm gonna come and join you guys after the video is done. So thank you for being here.
Hello, everyone. We are going to work on making sure that you have sound. Thank you so much for your patience. Zoom is our friend.
All right, sorry guys, let me go ahead and figure out what's going on with the sound here. Just a second, please. I apologize, Mr. Weeks.
We just all wanted to give you an opportunity to see what tech was like, since we're not in the theater anymore. The moment when you are in tech and you're on a roll and the stage manager hollers, "Hold, please." So I hope you have appreciated this small taste of theater the way we remember it.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play the video again. Dee, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear it?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Okay, what's going on? Oh dear. All right, we're going to do this the old-fashioned way. We're going to stop it and start it again.
Ariel, make sure you hit share sound as well. And that you don't mute yourself.
Yeah, no, I'm not muted and my sound is sharing, but I'm hoping that if I start it one more time from the beginning with everything reset, maybe it'll work. Sometimes Zoom likes to mess with me like that.
Okay.
Meeting controls.
We did test this before you all
We tested
arrived,
it.
and it worked.
I have changed none of the settings since we tested it.
But look, should it not work, I am prepared to go on if need be.
No, we're gonna make this work, sir. I promise. All right, let's see.
Awesome.
I'm
The
unmuted.
show will go on.
Oh yes, it will. All right.
I also can try to, Ariel, because I have it.
Have it. Okay, let's try this. All right, let's try this. Really?
All right.
This shouldn't be happening. I love technology.
You want me to try?
Give me one more. I'm gonna try one more different thing.
Okay. I've got it queued up whenever you're ready.
Perfect.
So, how's everyone's Saturday going? It's so beautiful outside. It's just gorgeous. Alex mentioned that he has been vaccinated. All the team has had their first shot, so we are excited about that. Ariel, I believe, is complete with hers.
Sure am.
So we are almost a fully vaccinated staff. Our children are getting taller.
I'm not getting taller.
Ariel is getting taller.
I'm not getting taller. I'm just getting fatter.
Yeah, it's not clear. Let me go ahead and try, Miss Ariel.
Okay.
With your permission.
Absolutely. Let
All
me
right.
get out of here so that you can share, because there we go.
All right, let's see what happens. Here, I'm going to do this and do this. Alex, I can see you. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear it?
Hi, my name is Justin Weeks. Before we begin, just because I'm not there with you all, and I wish we could be there together as humans in one room, I want to try something real quick. Please stay with me through this technology Zoom medium. Everyone could allow your eyes to drift closed. And find both of your feet on the ground, and to feel the soles of your feet on the ground and the 3 points of your feet. And breathe in and breathe out, and allow your eyes to drift open. I just wanted to share that moment of breath. I want to begin by thanking Alex Levy and Deidre Starnes and the rest of the First Stage family. This has been a great joy, one of the great joys of my artistic evolution. So thank you. This piece is still growing, obviously, and still becoming. It's called A Fine Madness, or For the Record. At least that's what it's called for the time being. I've learned over the course of the greater last year that playwriting not only is a process of investigating, but also a process of getting out of the way and allowing the piece to reveal itself to me. So I want to share 3 quotes. You could call them scriptures that I've been living by when it comes to writing this piece. The first: he looked at his own soul with a telescope. What seemed all irregular, he saw and showed to be beautiful constellations, and he added to the consciousness hidden worlds within worlds. Samuel Coleridge. You want to sleep on my chest? You want to hear my heart beat all through the night? It's the only jazz station with a 24-hour signal if you want to listen. Essex Hemphill. But the price is a long look backward when we came, and an unflinching assessment of the record. James Baldwin. This past year and a half, we have, whether we wanted to or not, liked it or not, have found ourselves face to face, up close and personal, and developing a relationship with virus, and more, I would say more so than virus, I think with our own uncertainties, I think both nationally and globally. For those of you who don't know, this May marks 5 years that I'll have been not only living with, but thriving with the human immune deficiency virus, otherwise known as HIV. Now, what I feel like I've been going through in the past 5 years, over the past year, the country has been kind of getting a taste of, right? In a lot of ways, I feel kind of, I felt kind of jealous of COVID-19, how open and how unstigmatized this virus has been. Meanwhile, we've been living through a pandemic over the past 40 years that has not been met with such open arms, that's often been kept in the dark, in the shadows, in the quiet. This piece serves to help destigmatize virus, people living with virus, how we think about virus, how we think about disease, which truly, from a different angle, we can talk about what it means to live, you know, which I think we're all kind of grappling with at this moment. This piece, I'm really inspired by radio documentary form, which is the creative treatment of actuality, right? So this is an amalgamation of stories, of interviews, of film. I'm creating a short film with this project. I'm playing with kind of the acoustic film style. My idea is that the audience, the spectators of this piece, would be wearing headphones, and a lot of the piece would be the experience of you hearing it. I want to leave mental fossils. I want to leave you all with mental fossils in this play. And the way we hear is a big part of that. So I like to share a bit of the piece. Like I said, it's still in development. So at the beginning, I'll read opening stage directions, and then I'll head into it. This is a working portion of A Fine Madness, or For the Record. Darkness, and a light bulb, and a microphone. From the deep darkness of the stage, a man emerges. There is a magical light bulb moment. Perhaps the light is related to the proximity of the man. He is what makes the light go on, his presence. A cacophony of sounds concentrated into the light bulb. The medium is the message. The man approaches the microphone. The sound is transmitted directly into the ears of the spectator. He speaks. For the record, I do not know if this will be used or how this will be used to get to where it's going. I summon these thoughts as one draws breath enough to relieve themselves. This is a stopping for air, or coming up for air, rather. Potentially chaotic organization of thoughts, ideas, musings, questions, and fears. My fine madness. They need 5 tubes. You know, it is said that the true story of a person is written in their blood. I've always found that odd. Not the sentiment, but the articulation of it, the syntax, written in their blood. Not found, but written. As if something is etched in my veins and not flowing through it. Cuts. Like, to write something means to will it into existence, that is there by design, right? The idea that there is something flowing through me that is against my will, something that cannot be extracted no matter how deeply excavated. I was floored when I heard the idea of epigenetics explained to me. That, you know, we inherit our parents' DNA, right? But our DNA is made up of experiences, essentially. Everything we experience rewires us down to a cellular level. So by our experience, we are changed forever, and then we give those experiences down to our children. It's why our offspring not only resemble us physically, but like somehow take on attributes. Like, here's this brand new human being doing things with his hands that his father does instinctively. Like, how could he possibly know what he's doing? We inherit bone structure, we inherit some brain function, and it seems we inherit hurt. Transformation, alchemy, transmutation, divination. Am I scaring you? The Voyager Record. I think about it a lot. In 1977, NASA sent up into space a time capsule of humanity, if you will. A record A vinyl record that, if played, will provide extraterrestrial life with music, images, and messages about life here on Earth. An enormous scientific advancement, and we were the first to do it. America, we stay winning, don't we? Always first, always on top. Our announcement into the stars of who we are. Not once on that record is there a mention of war, of poverty, of religion, of nationalism, of ideology, of disease, of virus. If life out there in the ethers of the cosmos were to decode that record, which we call golden, there is no record that I or a person like me exists. I am not represented in our golden record of humanity. A constellation made from the spots on my body. A starry, starry night. And a garden grew from his face. And we knew we were beautiful and ugly too. This is an amendment, a reclamation, an assessment, an experiment, a setting the record straight. And in scene.
Hey y'all. Thank you. I don't know how much, I saw that there were some volume problems and people were not able to hear maybe everything. But yeah, that's my piece. So far, it's a lot about science, the stories science tells itself. It works to be a affirmational tool. All of the stories that we have in the American theater canon that are that discuss and deal with HIV, it's all white. They're all white, and I cannot place myself or my experience in things that I've seen or read in the canon. The most recent work to be included into the canon is a play called by Danye Love called 1 in 2. I would like for you to know that that is the statistic of Black men who identify as gay or bisexual who will contract HIV in their lifetime. 1 in 2. It is half of us. Music, it's a celebration of music. It's a celebration of body, of voice, of tongue, of blood. Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life and John Coltrane's Ascension, those two albums have been landmarks for me as I have devised this piece. Before we turn things over to you all for questions, I just want to leave you all with a quote. Another James Baldwin quote. He has also become not just, my writing inspiration, writing muse, he always has been, but for this piece in particular, he's someone that I keep coming back to as a touchstone. This is from one of his essays called A Talk to Teachers. Let's begin by saying that we are living through a very dangerous time. Everyone in this room is in one way or another aware of that. We are in a revolutionary situation, no matter how unpopular that word has become in this country. The society in which we live in is desperately menaced from within. So, any citizen of this country who figures himself as responsible, and particularly those of you who deal with the hearts and minds of young people, must be prepared to go for broke. This is my going for broke. Thank you. I'm gonna pass it over to you all.
Wow. Thank you, Justin. Amazing, amazing. I have to tell you all that these first look series are really emotional for me, because we've been holding close these 11 artists who are creating such incredible work, and these first times of sharing some of their words in front of folks reminds me of the power of storytelling, reminds me of why this investment was so necessary, and just makes me miss you all that much more. I will tell you, as an artistic director, I have several blessings, but two great blessings that are apparent in this program. Number one, through all of this hard time of being apart for folks, we count amongst our First Stage family and I truly mean this, the most talented whole human artists that any artistic director could ever dream of. The 11 folks who are making this work, and all of the folks who are supporting them, are incredible artists, incredible voices, and incredible people. And as an artistic director during what's been a hard year, that's been a lot to hang on to. I also would be sort of failing if I didn't point out that when we made this decision to create this program, as I've done before, it was a leap and the hope that somebody would catch us. We really didn't know how long we'd be out of, how long we'd be closed. At the time, the feeling was that many theaters would not make it back through the pandemic. Lots of folks were saying to shutter up, and we decided to make this commitment. And we made this commitment without, we didn't write a grant and then wait for it and then make the commitment. We made the commitment and then said we'd go figure out how we were going to do it. And we started making some phone calls to people, just telling them what we wanted to do. And many of you wrote checks to make this possible, and many of you are here with us today. And I just want to acknowledge some of the folks who are in the room who helped make this possible. Barry Sullivan and Alan Scott, Stephanie Katz, Bootsy and Humo Humanensky, Holly Hassett and Kathy Mara, all were amongst the first folks in those early days where we had no idea what was ahead, who said, yes, let me help you do this. So thank you all for being here. I want to call to the stage, so to speak, my partner here, Deirdre Starnes, who will join me in leading a conversation with Frank and Justin. Deirdre and I will ask a couple questions, but as I think Aria has said, please go ahead and let her know if you have questions, because we would like to make sure that we include you all in the conversation. So Deirdre, welcome.
Hello, everyone. It is always such a pleasure to see you and to be in front of our family. We always think of you as family, and we so miss you. I even see some friends from the stage. I see Adrian, and I see Alan, and Tracy and JJ, and I see Jane and Joan and our volunteers and Sandy and Eileen. And if I missed anyone, it's not because I don't love you, it's because I don't have my glasses on, I can't see. And there are so many of you on here today, over 50 people. So thank you so much for your support. And thank you, gentlemen, for your gift of sharing your stories, your gift of giving your voice, your gift of just your complete, I don't even know how to say it, but transparency. I think I said that already, but just your heart, just your pouring out of your heart and sharing your stories with us. So I actually would like to start with just a fun question for Frank, just to get the ball rolling a little bit, nothing too deep, because Alex likes to do the deep stuff. And I want to get my fun stuff in before he gets started. So Frank, can you explain to us why Charlotte became your nickname?
Okay. Yes. Good old friend of mine, Fiona Blackshaw. This was back in 2007. I was rehearsing a production of Antigone with Foreign Theater. And she had a line, she played the chorus, I was the messenger, and we were all on stage and she was describing each one of us. In the script, in that adaptation, she said, describing me with the script, she said, "That pale young man over there." And then she stopped and said, "No, that's not right." She said, "No," she said, "that chai latte brother over there." So that's where it started. That's my origin story, if you will.
Somehow I thought it was because that was your favorite Starbucks drink.
No, I rarely patronize Starbucks. I'm in top coffee shops before Starbucks. I like the little corner ones. Those are my favorites. I'm looking forward to getting back to doing that once we all can.
And then I know we have a few questions in the chat. I have another fun question for Justin, only because he named two of my favorite artists. How was it that of all the amazing artists out there musically that you landed on John Coltrane and Stevie Wonder? Because they're both prolific and profound musical artists, but very different in their presentation of their musical artistry.
Yeah. John Coltrane, I recently watched a documentary. It was taken off Netflix, but Netflix used to have a documentary about John Coltrane. And I didn't really know much about that brother. And I was floored, not just by, you know, his musicianship and the music, which is, you know, what we know of John Coltrane. I was so intrigued and fascinated by the mathematical approach that he took to music. And near the end of his career, if you listen to sonically, if you listen to the way he's playing his music, the way he's writing his music, it begins to a lot of people say that John Coltrane's kind of final era as a musician is largely misunderstood, because to I won't say an untrained ear, but maybe to an ear that's not well versed in jazz, it's like a cacophony of sound. And one of the first albums that I was given from my mother was the Ascension album. And I remember listening to that during the pandemic, and I don't know, having kind of a visceral emotional response to it, and just kind of kept it around. Songs in the Key of Life is one of the best albums of all time. Varna, I mean, anything Stevie Wonder has, you know, touches. That particular album, I've grown up with that album and I've known the music. I was going through a time where I wasn't loving the skin I was in. And I was having a hard time. I was just having a hard time in my body. And like with age and with, you know, some things that the virus does, you know, there was a point in time where I had a lot of what looked like bruises on my body, which have since gone away, but I was so self-conscious. And I remember turning on shuffle, not the album and then shuffle, just shuffle in my music. And the song Contusion from Songs in the Key of Life started playing. And I was like, what is this? It's just instrumental. And it's called Contusion. I don't know how many of you know, but Stevie Wonder was in a car crash that almost cost him his life, like back in the 70s. And Contusion is his musical manifestation of the bruising on his brain that he suffered. It made me feel beautiful, that song. It's so wild and it's so free and it's so odd and peculiar. And the fact that he called it contusion, and I was having this thing with bruises and spots, it just made me feel beautiful. And I felt kind of seen in a way by a musician in a way that I hadn't felt in a while. But yeah, listen to those albums if you haven't. Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you so much, Justin. I do need to share that my first year in learning about theater formally, in my movement class, the teacher always played songs from Sounds in the Key of Life for us to warm up to. So it is an all-time favorite of mine because it was my first professional training as a teen. Ariel, I think you said we have some questions.
We
do
do
you wanna
have some questions.
All right,
I'm sorry to
awesome.
interrupt you, Dee. I'd like to start with Sophia Quintero. Sophia, I'm going to ask you to unmute so you can ask your question. Do we have a Sophia? Sophia Quintero?
Yes, hi, sorry. There was music playing in the common space of my house, so
understood.
sorry about that. Hi, so I kind of stumbled upon this by accident almost. I'm like new to the area, and I mean, I'm sure everyone can relate that it's been really difficult, especially in a position where I just graduated from undergrad and kind of had all of my plans put on hold for the time being. So I was looking into places in the community and just was like, I have nothing to lose, so I'll just come and say hello to some new people. Yeah, so hi. I wrote down just like some comments and questions for both pieces, and I'll just like read what I wrote down. Frank, I said, thank you for your vulnerability. I felt incredibly alone for the past year in a way I didn't believe to be possible, and that I felt like the way that I feel doesn't matter. The world is so heavy in increasingly obvious ways, and I'm fortunate enough to not have to worry too much about my most basic needs. I feel as though I am expected to care so much about everything. There is nothing left to feel about how I feel about how my creative freedoms have sort of been taken away so abruptly. And the one sort of question that I had just out of curiosity is this piece a collection of stories, or does it mostly center around the story you shared today?
And thank you, Sophia, for your question and comments. And my apologies, everyone. I was a bundle of nerves today. I said I was going to jump and I didn't notify y'all. So my apologies again, but I thank you all so much for joining us today. Not necessarily, it was originally centered around the attack until through guidance and through mentorship, it's part of a larger picture, and getting on that theme of love and versatility of it, and the commonality of it, how we each differently relate to it, and how we sit with it and live with it and give it and receive it. So it's become more of a broad, it's evolving into a much more broader thing, but it's not at this point based on a collection of stories. It originally was around the attack, but it's moving further.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
We have a question from Diane Carode. Diane, I'm going to ask you to unmute, please, so you can ask your question.
Me?
Yes, please.
Okay. I was obviously Frank and Justin just publicly and in the past have talked about their vulnerabilities. And recently I've been reading or hearing Brienne, what's her last name? Some of you probably know her. Just forgot, Brienne Brown, who talks about vulnerability and how it by expressing it, it makes us stronger, not weaker. And I know that Justin said that we should go for broke. And I'm certainly feeling that way, having been born in a lower middle income area that became all Black. I just don't know how to go for broke. And I know it's up to each of us to decide how to do that. And I wondered if Frank and Justin had any words they could say about that. I can write, I can post, maybe create a blog, but there are so many of those already. So, or D, if you have any ideas, speak up.
It's good to hear your voice, Diane. Hope you're
Same
well.
here.
Yeah, I think the phrase "go for broke," I think depending on where you're sitting, it can have a different, it looks different for everyone, but I think ultimately the sentiment of going for broke is kind of a risking what you know.
Mhm.
There's a kind of surrender. Well, I think I say, as humans, we love being in control, right? We need to have some say, a hand, or feel as though we have our hands on our circumstances, our choices, our lives, our situations. You know, it's just part of being human, you know. But also, like, on the flip side of that, what I've learned over these past 5 years is that stability, I'm not so sure it exists. I think it's an illusion. You know, that we constantly look outside of ourselves for stability, whether it be that job, need that job, I need this, I need that, and that will help me feel centered, or like I have it going on, or at least I have some control over my life and where it's going. To go for broke, especially in regards to teaching our young people, is kind of throwing out the window all that we thought we knew in service to actually learning and teaching, you know. There's so much unlearning that has to be done to kind of like move forward. And I think going for broke, to say, this is me and I'm going for broke, is a surrendering to control, and a surrendering to the unknown and the infinite possibilities of what can be, you know. We don't have it all figured out, you know, and children will be the first to remind you, as you know, they have a never-ending arsenal of questions, you know, and oftentimes we don't know how to answer them. I think in serving our young people, we have to be willing to go for broke and admit that we don't know as much as we do, and give that up to then start building upon something else. I hope that made sense. I hope.
Yes, it does. I was just trying to write in the chat that kids are so honest and we learn how not to be, but we all have vulnerabilities and fears and health issues and other matters that we keep to ourselves or we don't. And I haven't been willing to, you know, come out big time, but I struggle every day. I'll admit, I don't want to get hit in the face, and I don't want somebody to attack me. And I know the odds of that are far less than it is for people of color. I just saw there was an article in the Post, I don't know if you saw it, about how to take a picture. If you see something happening, about how to use your cell phone, that you're supposed to hold it up high so that the police don't question you. Because if you hold your cell phone and you videotape something, they think you're hiding it. I don't know if I have the guts to hold it up high, and that's a tiny action. But I am sure a cop is going to come over to me and say, "What are you doing? Put that cell phone away." Because I did tape something once in a health environment where someone elderly was being abused and someone took my cell phone away. That's just a small action. And there is this fear that I'm going to be walloped. And you live with this daily, let's face it. I don't, for obvious reasons. But, you know, how do you move past that so that you could have a bigger impact? I don't know, the written word, the spoken word, the blogs, the posts, I don't know.
That's such an important question, Diane, that I think all of us are grappling with and trying to find the answers to. And we thank you so very much for sharing with us, you know, how you feel about this and making yourself vulnerable. I believe, Ariel, we have one or two more questions, and then Mr. Carlos, we may try to get yours in if you all are okay with us going over a little bit, because I have some exciting news that I do want to share with you and some information that I want to pass on. Ariel?
Yes, thank you. Eileen, you're our next question. I'm going to ask you to unmute, please. Eileen Mandel.
Hi there. It's for both of you, and it's a little bit more about your process than about the other questions. I'm doing a lot of writing. I took advantage of this terrible year to write, which, because I said, if I don't use this year, I'll never do it, because I've said for years I will write. And so I'm really pleased with myself. And to answer Diane as well, I find that my vulnerabilities are easy to share in a group of writers who like me are writing. They are not like me necessarily, but they are writing like I am. And it's a safe space, and we're trying to use the particular to write universal stories. And I'm wondering if both of you have small groups and groups of people that you can trust to listen and trust to help you hear what you're doing. And the other question I have is, have you asked anyone else to read your pieces for you? Because that has opened my eyes in an enormous way. So those are my questions.
Hi, Miss Eileen.
Hi, Fran.
We do within our cohorts. We check in with each other, and we've been put into small groups. Today was only the second time, and this is a wider audience, where my work has been heard. The first time, the first person I shared any of my work with was Jasmine Cardenas, who's in our cohort. And I read, and this was when I was writing out my drafts, and I read it to her. And she was the first person I read anything I had to with this play. And so, yeah, it's definitely, you know, within the First Stage family, there's that support, and we can lean on each other. And because this is my first play, I've never written a play. I used to write for my high school newspaper back in the day. I was their film critic, but this is the first time, and sharing a piece that's so personal that I knew I definitely needed that guidance. And I also have friends who are well-known, established playwrights that I can check in with and ask questions. And I know I have the support around me, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that.
Lord. Can y'all see me? Okay, my phone fell. This is the first time that people are here. Yeah, this is the first time. I've been very kind of guarded about sharing my writing. I've always written. My whole life I've written. I have journals upon journals on journals. And being in this process, especially wearing this hat, this new hat, as playwright, as writer, for me, I found, it's been such a way for me to process and articulate what had been left so long still and mum. I really had to find that quiet place and create from there, and to make sure that what I'm saying is true and authentic to what I'm feeling, what my experience is. So now, it really feels like this is the closest I will ever come to being pregnant. I feel like it really feels that way, that like, this thing is here, it's coming, it's forming, and it has a life of its own, and I kind of have to get out of the way of it. But yeah, now it's time that I can start like sharing the baby. And I do have, we have our cohort, which is a group of amazing, amazing artists who are going through the same thing. Even if we aren't necessarily expressing the same thing through our work. And that we're a varied bunch. That I can go to someone who is new like me and be like, do y'all not, like, are you having this problem that I'm having? And then go to someone who, is more seasoned in this craft and pick their brain and really be a student. What was the, I guess that was part one. I forgot part two of the question.
I guess the second thing is, and obviously you haven't done this, but I had somebody read something that I wrote out loud. So as an actor, and it changed the way I thought about it. I liked it better actually than when I read it, but I also heard things that I didn't know were there, and they weren't necessarily bad. It was just an eye opener for me. So you obviously haven't done that, but it's really an interesting process to go through, not only reading your work to others, but having someone else read it to you. So have you done that was the question, but I know the answer from you.
No, but I'll say watching back me speaking what I was writing was like, there were a lot of things that just being on the outside of it in that way, even though, I'm the one who wrote it, but I'm excited and I'm nervous about it because it's so personal, but I know that giving it over to someone else to live in will kind of mine more room for me in the universality, and finding more universality in my writing and in my piece. I've sometimes, being in this process has felt very secluded and very, we're already in isolation. So it's like isolate and like do this really personal like work of art. So to hear it, all that to say, it's time now to give the baby away, and not give the baby away, share the love, share it, and all in service to learning and deepening more and finding what's new. We're still finding the pieces.
Go for it, Justin. Thank you.
I'm afraid I'm going to be the bad guy who says that we're going to have to wrap up here. I'm so grateful. I know there are a lot of questions left, and we could probably go on for days. These works are just being born. We're bringing Justin and Frank are coming back. They're not going anywhere. They're going to share more, but we're so grateful to both of you for sharing at this early stage with us. I wanted to, Tracy set me up really wonderfully. and said, "Is there any way to see the previous first looks?" And there are. Thanks, Tracy. If you go to our website, you can find our YouTube page there, and you can see JJ Johnson and Jasmine Cardenas' sharing of their piece, which was just tremendous, on our YouTube, as well as many conversations and parts of our learning programs that have happened over the course of the last year, and some just fun performance stuff there too. And then I wanted to make sure you all knew that we have 7 more of these artists who are going to be shared in the coming months. So read those e-blasts, sign up on our social media, make sure that you're aware, because there are so many brilliant artists at work right now, and we can't wait to share them. I'm going to turn it over to Dee to wrap up for us.
All right, so Alex stole some of my lines. Never let an artistic director upstage you. That's what I have always said. So yeah, we do have 7 more to go. 4 shared, 7 more to go. And our next first look, number 3, is going to be on June 12th at 2 p.m. So make sure you look for that e-blast and make sure you sign up for that. I also wanted to say, if you have more questions that we were not able to get to because of time, you can certainly email them to me. I will get in touch with the artists and send their responses back to you. My email address is deirdrestarnes@firststage.org. You can find it on our website, firststage.org, DEIDRA Starnes. So that's how you can get those questions. Carlos, I really loved your question, and I really would love for you to send that to me so I can get that to him, because it's a very important question, and I think you should get an answer to. I also want to talk to you about some JJ is here, by the way, those of you who were a part of our first look 1. So he is here in the room with us. So yay, JJ, thank you for supporting your squad. Something very exciting that is getting ready to happen. We have 2 of our masters in this conversation, Jane and Nick. We are launching our first series of master classes. Jane is going to be bold and start us off with her first master class in June as well. And so we are so excited. In May 15th. Yes, May 12th. Thank you so much, Jane. I read your mouth. May 15th, she is going to be doing Acting a Song. We have Nick Olcott that's also in here with us. He is going to be doing monologue coaching and also auditioning techniques. We also have Craig Wallace, Kenyatta Rogers, Thembi Duncan, Matt Wilson, Jose Carrasquillo, and Jose Carrasquillo. So these are our masters. They're all spread out on the calendar with different classes. Shakespeare, She Said, which is one of my favorite, a little deep dive into female play analysis. We have Commedia dell'arte, and just a lot of different things for you. And I will say, at the very low price of $35 for a 2-hour master class. Thembi's is a 2-part, so hers is $65. But please, please, please check our website and join us for that. We are so happy to have you in this space. We are getting closer and closer to being able to meet with you in some other capacity other than Zoom. President Biden keeps saying, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And there really, really is. I have learned in this time that there is nothing like live theater. I don't care whether people have streamed it. I don't care if it was the Disney version of Hamilton. There is nothing like being in the space with the artists, breathing air with them, taking a journey with them. So we are willing it back into existence. We are blessed to have Alex at our helm, who has guided us through this process. And I want to thank all of you who have been supporting us through this, because it is because of you that we are all here with artists who are working through this pandemic. And thank you so much. We love you